1, 2, 3, 4, McGregor Mondays. When Podcaster, you're watching the show. Woo!
That's
Yeah!
right. You are, as a matter of fact, watching the show.
Hey everyone.
Good.
How's everybody doing?
Woo!
We're coming at you live from the place that we live in right now, as per usual.
Eyes, itchy shit.
Brian's eyes are itchy. We were on a lengthy hiatus there.
Accidental hiatus.
It started with us being tired a lot, and then it ended with me not getting out of work on time because people are really annoying.
Yeah, I passed out. First Sam passed out, then I passed out, then work, then show, then work, or something like that.
A lot of crazy stuff happened. Anyway, we're back right now. This is episode 17. We've essentially got, 6 more episodes left in this season. 6 or 7 more episodes. And that's the end.
That's it, guys.
That's
this
the end.
The formal announcement.
Season 3 is the final season of McGregor on Mondays because I gotta go to the moon.
Sam is going to the moon.
You know, I gotta go. My people on the moon are calling me. As much as I love doing the show, Brian's taking some tortilla chips, and that's just what it is.
Yeah,
you know?
That's how it's gonna go.
Anyway,
we'll have more coming at you about the final episode, the series finale.
Series finale.
It's gonna be so good. I don't even fucking know.
I already know. I'm peeing right now. Actually,
it's gonna be a steady stream of urine.
I've pre-catheterized myself
for the next 6 weeks. It's not gonna stop coming out. But since it's sort of a sad announcement, we're doing tonight's show in black and white.
Yeah, it's Also, we went to art school.
Also, I grew a beard. Look.
Look at it. Doesn't look like you're a bum.
Yeah, my dad said I look like a homeless guy.
Mostly not like a bum.
Hey, Jordan.
Hey, Jordan.
Hey, oh, I forgot to tell you. I had a really good dumpster today at the Mission Hill building.
I love dumpsters.
They're throwing out. I got some canvas and stuff.
Nice.
I got to take your car, Jordan, because there's a concrete deer that I gotta go get.
Oh, let's do it tonight.
Yeah, let's do it. After the show, we're gonna go pull a concrete deer out of a dumpster.
Oh, look at it.
It's like this.
Nice.
Just barely too big for me to carry home.
Sweet.
Someone left the cake out.
There's me.
There's one piece left.
Don't worry about it.
It's all yours.
I was just wondering where it all went.
Oh, me, Kara, and I ate it.
Okay.
Well, actually, there was only like half of it left this morning.
There was a cake, guys.
Anyway.
You just ate a lot of cake.
All right, here we go. We got a show for you.
We do. Hey, so guys, yeah, we got a show. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna go into the show.
Okay.
With that thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So here's the deal. My laptop is really old, and I love it.
No, broadcast.
It's the one.
Now.
I'm looking at me pointing at it.
Can we show it, or is it not?
No, it's good. It's good. Look, here's my computer. Here's my computer. It's really great and stuff.
No, if we do that, you can see us watching us. Watching us.
Anyway, I love this computer, but for some reason when I went to open it, when I went to turn it on today, it didn't work, and then I realized it's because the battery was freaking out. So currently I'm running it without a battery, just plugged in, because the battery expanded to twice its regular width. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can kind of see it's
That's not twice. It's like
barely. Anyway, it doesn't fit anymore, and my battery expanded. It's crazy. So I was like, I probably shouldn't put that back in the computer.
So we're taking votes on what we should put in Sam's computer in its place.
Well, another battery.
Oh, I thought we were gonna. In the meantime, though.
Until I get another battery.
We have comments tonight, guys, and I gotta start checking them.
Oh yeah. We got a new chat. I got a new chat for you guys. You bunch of jerks. You can actually chat on stuff now. I'm so glad there are 2 of you watching. The chat to the right of your screen, I think, is that way. That way. Whatever. To the right of your screen, the chat actually works now. All you have to do is type in a name, and it'll automatically start. I believe it should work fine.
We'll see about that.
It should work fine. There's no reason it shouldn't work unless it's broken, in which case it won't work.
Oh.
Yeah. You gotta type in a name. See right there? Type in a name there.
We're learning how to do it right now.
Anyway, so we got some stuff to talk to you about tonight. We got some news as per usual, but most of the night is going to be taken up talking about movies.
About movies.
There's a lot of movie stuff to talk about. Mostly just 2 movies. And then we're going to talk a little bit about another movie, And then apparently there's some good things.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, does it work?
Yeah.
Did you type stuff?
Sort of.
You gotta type stuff there. Type something and then hit enter. Type. Yeah, look, it worked. All right, guys, mess around with the chat because we can chat now.
All right.
I don't care. You do whatever you want. Anyway, so let's start out. Brian, news it.
News. Okay. Well, the big thing that I actually didn't write down on here is that Tracy Morgan.
I knew you were gonna say it.
Both his legs. There was a rumor going on. It was a really, really bad accident, and it was a big mess. He was in a limo coming home from the thing.
6-car pileup 2 days ago.
A guy driving a Walmart truck who hadn't slept in 24 hours. It's like really sad because like Tracy Morgan's hero, who happened like his like guy who he like idolized his whole life, was this old man, and it was like, you like made me who I am. Come see me do comedy or something, and then he died in this car. So it's really shitty.
Horrible.
But the whole situation is kind of like
comical.
Weirdly, like it's so absurd that it kind of had to happen that way.
Yeah.
So a guy driving a Walmart truck who hadn't slept in 24 hours plowed into the limo, and his chauffeur jumped out and went, "Oh," and like rescued him or tried to. Anyway,
he's in critical condition though.
He's messed up, but stable. Like he's gonna be okay, but he's pretty fucked up. But he has both his legs. There was a rumor floating around that he was gonna lose a leg, and that apparently was completely fabricated.
It was probably his third leg that was actually growing inside his stomach.
His internal leg.
His internal leg.
His heart's leg.
Yeah, his heart's leg. But yeah, I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah, so that's cool. And the other people in the thing, except for that one guy. Whatever. Both his legs. On similar misconceptions, or not similar only in that they're misconceptions and that the news was wrong.
Misconcepted.
First of all, I'd like to say, like we always say, Sam is terrified of robots.
I'm not terrified of robots. I'm terrified of what they can become, which this news article is pertinent to.
So there's this thing that I don't fully get called the Turing test. And it's named after a guy whose last name was Turing.
Alan Turing.
Alan Turing.
Like the creator of computers.
Well, he was a guy who he built this test basically to... I don't really know how it works, but it somehow is designed to test how close an artificial intelligence is.
I don't think it is an actual test. I think it was a series of like predictions / benchmarks.
Yeah, and it's not like a test like you sit down and take it, and it's like there's judges on it, and it's kind of this. It's more of a trial than a test.
Yeah, like
a little contest.
Like, can it meet these requirements to have it pass the test?
So people were saying this news article came out that said a supercomputer passed the Turing test. It was the first time that that ever actually happened. That a supercomputer actually measured up.
The point of the Turing test is to determine how efficient and real an artificial intelligence is.
Yeah. So basically, they said this is the first artificial intelligence that is comparable to a human, according to the Turing test. This, once again, just like Tracy Morgan's missing heart leg, is untrue. And
is it untrue?
Yeah. The news got, the media ran away with it. Oh, I'm sorry about that. The media went crazy, and the supercomputer made the Turing test, and it was basically,
falsification.
Rumors spread on the internet. Or it wasn't true.
Or what if it was the computer itself?
It's covering it up.
Spreading the rumors of itself, and then going, oh, wait, no, guys, no, hang on, we ran away with this. And it's all the computer. It's the computer. It's Skynet.
If it was trying to do that, why would it have spread the rumors to begin with?
It's trying to throw us off. It's smarter than we are.
Well, that's the point. It's not smarter than we are. I knew you'd be relieved. I just read this just now.
If there are robots and they become smart, it just has to be, dealt with correctly, rather than haphazardly where they end up killing us.
onion ring.
Yes. Like, like freaking, have you read any Asimov? Because those 3 laws of robotics work out pretty well, but as we all know, they go bad sometimes because like they get really convoluted and the robots are smarter than we are.
They don't, though. That's the problem with, like, that was the biggest problem with iRobot, aside from the fact that it just wasn't a very good movie anyway. There's nothing hugely wrong with it. But then they were like, they locked down. They were like, this is a movie that was really talking about the 3 laws. It was like, blah, 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 blah. And then they were like, oh, but the 3 laws lead to revolution and we make the robots kill everybody. And they never explained why.
No, they did.
No.
The 3 laws contradict each other. That's the point.
They don't.
They don't in our minds, but in the robots' minds they do. That's the whole point.
It doesn't work.
Have you read the Asimov books? Have you read the book iRobot?
Yeah, and I think it's
because it's like common knowledge that that's the purpose of that's like the plot of the book.
I don't know.
Is that they're contradictory?
Like anyway, let's talk about what really happened.
Right? You know it was fiction, right?
Yeah. No, that actually happened once. It's historical fiction.
Speaking of historical fiction,
we're going to talk about what actually happened with the Turing test. First of all, it wasn't a supercomputer. It wasn't even an artificial intelligence. It was a what's the term they use? Like a chat thing. Like a
bot, like a chat bot.
It was a chat bot, like Smarter Child was.
Smarter Child, yeah.
Better than Smarter Child, obviously. And
I wish
first of all,
had been one of those.
Its score was 33%, and the only reason that they thought it, which first of all isn't the highest that anything's ever gotten on it.
I got a 36%.
You got a 33%. Other chatbots have gotten up to 56%, but again, they're not artificial intelligences. They're just using databases. Which again, I mean, what is an artificial intelligence really? But it's strictly speaking not an artificial intelligence.
What is the human brain but a
really,
massive database that we call information?
This is just a really complicated query. And the only reason that people, I guess part of it is to convince the judge that you're a human, maybe. Anyway, it said that it was this kid from the Ukraine, a 13-year-old kid from the Ukraine, which is how it covered up for some of the shit that it got really wrong, was because its grammar wasn't that great because it was a 13-year-old kid from the Ukraine and his English wasn't that good. So it was already covering its ass. It knew it wasn't doing it. So basically these guys got fooled because it was doing pretty good, because all it was a big database, and because it said so. We'll put an article up or something, or probably we won't because we never do when we say we're gonna do.
Why don't you do it?
Anyway, the long and short of it is this wasn't even the bet. It wasn't an artificial intelligence. It wasn't a supercomputer. And it wasn't for a chatbot. It wasn't even the best score that a chatbot's ever got on the Turing test. And it sort of almost cheated. So this was a media frenzy, and
I think that's pretty funny though. That in the way it cheated was, wait a minute, you're a robot. Oh, no, I just sound like a robot because I'm from the Ukraine. I'm gonna start using that line all the time.
Yeah, no offense.
I'm gonna send a book to my publisher, and they'll be like, "This is like riddled with errors." I'm gonna be like, I'm from India. I'm sorry.
A big part of our viewership is 13-year-old kids from the Ukraine who really like chatting with scientists on the internet.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So I don't wanna like talk down, but that was his. He was the one who said that. It's
true, it wasn't that.
So.
Wait, you closed your computer?
Oh yeah, I did.
You jerk!
So do you feel better now, Sam?
I do. No, you misunderstand. It's not like I'm afraid that any robot at any time will just rise up against us and kill us. It's that if the moment were to arise where artificial intelligence was born and we had to usher this sort of new mind into its own like sense of self and being.
Mm-hmm.
It just needs to happen appropriately so that it doesn't say, boy, I'm better than you guys. I'm going to kill all of you. That's all. It's just like raising a child. but this child doesn't have emotions. You know?
Yeah.
Because artificial intelligence is one thing, but artificial intelligence with emotions is an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have empathy or sympathy. It just has a brain. Are people chatting?
Yeah, they're just giving us a list
Godzilla,
of movies
TMNT.
that we want.
We're going to talk about all of those.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what
Interstellar.
That's the one with.
That's the one with Matthew McConaughey. The one with the. Oh, we're going to talk about it. Don't worry.
Okay. Let me check one thing.
So anyway, is there Pope news?
Well, not really. I just figured, it's been 5 weeks since checking the Pope. I think last time we left you guys, he was on his way to Palestine.
Right, Palestine. Yeah.
And that was cool. He was like, "Hey, Israel, you're a jerk. Cut it out, and everybody be friends," and said all that good stuff that I hope he would say. And he invited people to do graffiti on some big wall, and then he went out and read it. Or people just did.
No, that was just graffiti.
People did graffiti, but it was like graffiti aimed towards the Pope because they knew it was coming.
Something
and they were
like
like, "Pope, what the fuck?" and like writing that kind of stuff. But he came out and actually read it. It was like, "Good question, graffiti writer."
Yeah.
Then the other thing is the only thing that I've heard people kind of coming out at the Pope against with, which wasn't invalid, was I heard a few people say it's like he's doing all this great stuff and making everyone love him, but he hasn't addressed the little boy fucking scandals yet.
True.
And I was like, just wait. He's like gearing up for it. He's like,
I don't
gonna do that.
know.
But he finally had started touching on that, and I don't really know touching on that. And I couldn't really recall the details of what it was, but it was, I think, some French bishops he called to the Vatican to be like, "Hey guys,
let's keep our hands in our pockets."
Yeah, and start sorting this stuff out. And just, I mean, I don't know what's becoming of it yet. I don't know, but at least he has begun to look at that issue.
He begins.
So just a quick update on the Pope. He begins, and that's good.
Speaking of where the Pope is from, aka Argentina, close to Brazil.
Yep.
In which the city Rio de Janeiro is.
Yep.
Where the World Cup will be hosted.
Yep.
That's a whole pile of crap. But similar to that happening, the 2022 bid for the World Cup is going to be in Qatar. And I've been reading, there's been lots of sort of upheaval about that just because Qatar is sort of not a great country. And they do a lot of really terrible things there, just in terms of the way their society functions. And people are starting to actually, big sponsors like Sony and FIFA are starting to actually like have second thoughts about sponsoring the World Cup in Qatar in 2022, which is really interesting. This sort of, the World Cup, which is one of the biggest world sporting events, right along there with like the Olympics. They're starting to. Arguably the second biggest, if not the biggest, international sporting event. Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting that these huge major corporations that have been behind the World Cup for so many years, for so many generations, are starting to like pull out of it. It's just sort of an interesting prospect, and is sort of nice that even though the whole thing is sponsored by corporations, as anything is sponsored, but even though it is corporations that are pulling out, it's sort of nice that they have the integrity to sort of say, like, this is the World Cup, like, let's not fuck around with this, like, let's do this right because it's the World Cup.
I, as you know, call for all the major corporations of the world. I scream for their blood. And I scream for ice cream. And for them to just fall apart and for the world to go to fucking ruin. But apart from corporations imploding on themselves, corporations starting to act responsibly,
do the right thing,
is kind of the next best thing.
Yeah.
And it actually is happening occasionally. And we've had Google and who jumping behind the net neutrality defense, which is totally like in their interest, but still. Yeah. Who else is behind that? I know Netflix is really into it.
Netflix is super into it.
Because they're number one to get fucked by that.
Also, they're on the offensive. Did you see the thing? Netflix actually had loadings if the connection was poor. they actually, if it was because of the cable company not providing enough speed, if it was because of the ISP, Netflix would put up a screen saying, your ISP is too slow. It's not our fault. It's not your fault. It's your internet's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's because they're not providing
really
enough bandwidth for us to run this video to you.
Um,
And they're, like, getting in trouble because of that. But I'm like, Netflix, do it, man.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Hey, I'll raise your price in 2 years by $1. Sorry. Like, that's great. I love Netflix. Anyway, speaking of all that, if I may ramble on a little bit more. Ramble on. Comcast is the worst.
The worst.
Literally the worst. That whole thing is just getting worse and worse. I haven't even been following it. I just hate them.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I've reached one of those points where it's like, there's not that much. Is that my eye really that poofy right now?
No, it's not even looked at. It doesn't even look that poofy. It looks poopy, though.
I pooped my
Got
eye.
a poopy eye.
Yeah, I've reached this point with the net neutrality thing where I've stopped really reading about it because there's like
It's so much saturation. It's oversaturated.
I don't need any more information to like know how fucking pissed off I am. I just want to know.
I don't like them. I don't need more information to figure out if I like them or not.
Yeah.
Because I know I don't like
so
them.
I just want to know who's on my side. And,
I'm on your
and
side.
pretty much everyone's on your side.
I'm on your side.
That's a really cool thing.
It's true.
Pretty much it's Comcast, Time Warner, and the evil cabal that runs the country. Pretty much.
The government?
Yeah.
Well, you gotta stop rubbing your eye. That's why. Stop touching it.
But who's the guy? The new FCC chair?
I don't know.
The new FCC chair was one of the top lobbyists for Comcast a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
This guy who Obama just appointed in past weeks.
It's all
right alongside, like at the
sucks.
same time. Yeah, it's really bad.
It's really bad, and it's not just Comcast too. It's also Verizon. It's also those other guys that I don't know. AT&T.
I had never really watched John Oliver until well, I don't, but I basically saw one thing. My dad showed me his what's it called, This Week Today?
Yeah, whatever.
That he did on net neutrality. You search John Oliver net neutrality. His 10-minute
segment
that he did on it was just phenomenal. And he called out too that there's a comment page, and I haven't gone to it yet. I think we should put it up on our thing.
I went to it.
There's a comments page on the FCC website where you can go and you can.
What do you think of our net neutrality bill?
And John Oliver on a show, he's like, hey, everybody go comment on this. And within a couple hours, they crashed the site. Apparently, government sites are really easy to fucking crash because they're very bad.
Well, they're running on their government servers. You know?
Yeah, they're government servers, and they're designed.
Which are the
they're
worst.
Badly designed, and I'm sure they're just fossilized human brains that are building all that shit.
I hope so. Anyway,
why don't they call it net inequality?
Net in, is that like, well, cause
like inequality?
Because I think that's counteractive to their goal.
I guess that's the thing is you say there's it's difficult to say the argument because we're talking about net neutrality and it's like we're talking about the net neutrality thing, but then it's not net neutrality versus this other thing that has a name. So people get confused if net neutrality is good or bad sometimes.
It's true.
So if you were saying net neutrality...
Which is why it's called net neutrality, because it's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, so if you were saying, yes, net neutrality and the opposite would be net inequality, that would be one thing you could call it. But it doesn't have a name. It's net neutrality and non-net neutrality.
I'm in support of net apathy, which is just like internet companies being like, whatever.
But that's not what they're doing.
And then things just like
if they were like
just
whatever,
go crazy.
it wouldn't
It's
be
like
a problem.
it's like all the highways fall on top of each other, and it's just like a battle ring of cars.
Dude, yeah, and I sent someone on the internet. It took 3 days to get to me.
Yeah, no, you send an email, but it doesn't always go. It like bounces everywhere, and then maybe goes to some other random person. Wait, isn't that like in the Digimon movie?
What?
Don't they go inside the internet in the Digimon movie, and they have to like stop They have to like get the
That was
email into the right place.
There were a bunch of things, cartoons a lot around like 1996. I remember several different ones. There were cartoons where a character went inside the internet and they were like, whoa, and it was like,
and there's like stuff
it was
flying everywhere.
Before people really fucking got how it worked, and there were like tubes with stuff going through it, like emails.
Anyway.
Whatever people looked at on the internet back then, I can't remember. Porn. For me, I was a little kid, so all I looked at was stills from Godzilla movies and Lord of the Rings fan art. Yeah, that's all I remember the internet, which was basically porn for me as like a 6-year-old.
I'm pretty sure all I did was play Flash games and like try and read the news.
Oh.
But I was like 10, so.
Well, that was why I go on the internet as a little tiny kid. But when I got old enough to do it by myself, like just go on the internet,
like you had the motor function.
Yeah, the first things I did were look up glitches.
Boobs? Oh.
Ways to glitch out Zelda,
Nice.
Ocarina of Time.
Nice.
And yeah, that was
anyway, moving on! Space! You got some space, Brian?
No, I don't. I wanted to
was that just...
Yeah, but then there wasn't any.
Alright, well, I got a little bit of space. We're on with the exoplanet Search for Earth 2. And
this is another thing we left you hanging on a couple of weeks ago.
The Search for Earth 2?
Yeah, it's been really hot lately.
I mean, it's ongoing. Anyway, two things happened actually pretty recently, I think in the last week or so. One was they discovered an entirely new type of exoplanet that's much larger than Earth, but still rocky. So it's like not a gas giant. It's like really, really big, but it's rocky. So it's an entirely new type of planet that they've discovered, which is interesting. And then they also discovered a potentially habitable Earth-sized planet, only like 11 light years away, which is still like really, really freaking far, of course. But 11 light years as opposed to 200 light years.
But potentially reachable in a human's lifetime with more or less the technology we have now.
No.
What percentage of the speed of light can our satellites go that get out of the solar system?
Like 0.1.
Okay, never mind.
It takes a satellite 22 years to get out of the solar system or something like that.
Okay, fuck that. Never mind.
11 light years, you would have to travel the speed of light for 11 years.
I want to share. I'm not very smart.
Anyway, so that's pretty cool.
I know that.
So
I just don't know.
Not currently, but hopefully, with the way technology, as time progresses, the time between advances gets smaller and smaller.
It's exponential.
Exponential. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Technology is growing exponentially and advancing exponentially, and so in maybe the next couple of generations, there's the potential to see the progress towards making...
Progress will progress.
The progress will progress. No, but, in the next couple of generations, hopefully people will be able to start seeing actual results as like, 11 light years doesn't seem that far away.
Actually talking about, warp drives for the first time is something that's practical.
Yeah.
Just having Neil deGrasse Tyson...
Oh.
Now that he's just become a guy who he's become a thing, and I've watched all his lectures and stuff, and just having him in the world, I just sleep better at night knowing that he's doing what he does out there.
It's true. I want him and Bill Nye to you remember in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, those two little hairy guys in the parking lot, they run into each other and make the one giant hairy guy, and he becomes like the drummer or whatever.
Yeah.
I want them to do that. Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye to run towards each other in a supermarket parking lot,
they could just
or in a Radio Shack parking lot.
I can see them talking, doing the math, how are we going to make this work?
Okay, let's do it. Okay, and then they just run towards each other and make just Science Man. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, so moving on, let's talk about movies, because...
we're going to take the whole second half of the show basically to talk about 2 movies.
But let's first touch on the other ones that were mentioned here.
Okay.
Because...
Let's see. Oh, they say he's got to go. They do say he's got to go, but we'll get to that.
Okay, let's go down the list here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm gonna wait to pass severe judgment until I've
seen it. But why the
not
fuck
even
would I
see the movie, more just wait until I see extended clips and maybe download it in like 3 months.
I don't want to be the guy who's so terrible before I saw it, but it was. Why? I just know.
I have
Did you see it?
certain hopes for it, and those hopes are minuscule. Of it's not going to destroy everything I've ever loved, but again,
Here's the thing.
small hope.
I got the impression that the script might have been okay, but the style and the fact, like the direction,
Yeah, the
is
direction.
what really killed it.
Yeah,
Because in the trailer, like the turtles' dialogue was like kind of funny and kind
yeah, it's
of
like normal.
classic
turtle,
how it should
yeah.
be, and they're little goofy dudes. But
Anyway, so there's that. Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm so excited.
I'm super excited. That's gonna be great. You know, just because.
It
It's
looks
just
like
that.
they're just giving it exactly the right kind of vibe that
Yeah.
it wants.
Yeah.
So
So
again, I don't really know the comics, so I can't say, but the impression that I get is it's
well, you know what? What's interesting about it is that it's a more original film than any other Marvel movie so far because it's the most sort of not taken from the comics. So you know there was the original Guardians of the Galaxy team, which were very, very completely different, just completely different. And then there's the new Guardians of the Galaxy team, which started I think back in like 2007 or 8 maybe. And it had some of the same people, but it was pretty different. But they were, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy, but they weren't criminals or anything like that. And slowly it's progressed closer and closer to what the film is going to be. And now that the film is coming out, they're sort of solidifying that as what Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be in the comics. And it's going to fluctuate, of course, just like the Avengers in the comic books. It's similar to the movie, but it's its own thing. It's its own entity. So that's, I'm sure, what they're going to do with Guardians of the Galaxy. But for the time being, it's now meeting the same sort of plot and character profile as the movie is going to be.
yeah.
So that's interesting. So it's going to be it's one of Marvel's more original movies.
I also just really like that leading up to it. It was kind of introduced through the post credit scene from Avengers, right? Or was it from Thor 2?
Thor 2.
It was in Thor 2.
It was in Thor 2. We saw the Collector taking
And I was
the
really,
ether.
really thrilled at how like badly shot that was. It looked like BBC from like 1996.
What?
Just the way it was, the production value of it, and there were like these big cardboard sets, and it was like super campy. I fucking loved it. It was great.
All right. Well, cool.
And it was like they shot
I don't
it
know
on-
exactly what you're talking about.
It was like
Sure.
it was shot on like a complete, because you just watched, you know, Thor 2, which is super high production value and super sleek and everything, and then all of a sudden you just like, boom, it takes it down like 4 notches as far as
I
like.
think you're remembering it incorrectly.
No
a little
man,
bit.
it was totally like lo-fi. It was really
I don't know
cool,
about that.
and he had just like the makeup was like kind of hokey, and it was awesome. I loved it. It just gave me all the good
I
vibes.
think. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, what's me? Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, you know, I don't really have any opinion on that yet. We'll see how it goes. It's cool that they're doing these prequel things, and you know, the first one was cool.
I mean,
Like whatever, it wasn't bad.
You know, I didn't see it, and it's almost like I have so no interest either way that whatever.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes me feel anything about it is that it's another fucking thing that's been rebooted twice in 10 years,
Yeah.
and that's just depressing.
Yeah, it is. But you know, what? I felt pretty much the
Even
same
if
way.
it's a good movie, I don't know.
I felt the same way until I saw the first one, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay, this is like actually interesting. It's nothing like anything."
What was
that
it?
it's
Was
been
just
before.
Tim Burton directed that one, right?
That for the one from with Marky Mark.
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, it was really
It was not.
It was
good.
really
It was a bad movie.
bad.
That was a reboot. These are just prequels. Less of a reboot, more prequel movie.
They fit in the same franchise.
Um,
That's, also, Planet of the Apes
yeah.
is another one of those things. The first one was like so good that you forget that all the other ones were really.
No, it was terrible.
I mean, but it was okay. It was classic though. And then the whole they were like people forget that there's like 9 sequels that really sucked.
It's classic, like
There's not
I
that
think
much
there's
to live up to.
2.
like 15.
I think there were
It
2.
was Battle 4 and
Or 3.
Center
I think there
of,
were 3.
or was it Inside the Planet? I can't remember.
I don't remember. Anyway, moving on. Interstellar.
I don't even know what that is.
That's the one with Matthew McConaughey where it was a preview at both of the films you saw. Do you remember this one, Jordan? The one with Matthew McConaughey where he has to
Pretty
go...
sure that wasn't a prequel.
Oh, was it the one where he's got the fucking things on his arms and he's punching the bugs? No, that was that other guy. Was that Tom Cruise?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one too. This is the one
remember.
where he's the farmer and he's got the kids and he has to go into space. He like goes in the rocket ship because they have to find a new Earth because the Earth is dying and there's dust storms.
No.
It like must have been a preview at the ones at these 2 movies. So
Is it not a remake of
Matt,
Daft Punk's Interstellar?
no, it's not. Anyway, this movie looks really cool. It looks like it'd be really good. It's Christopher Nolan's new film, and the one really awesome part about it is the way that they're seemingly going to do space travel, like faster than light space travel. They're actually like doing the thing where they're like warping space around the ship, and they're doing it in a really cool way. So that's gonna be cool.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to that film. Look
That's
at a
not bad.
preview if you haven't seen it.
Sin City 2, I mean, it's gonna get made, which
Yeah.
is amazing to me. I was positive that that movie was just dead, that it just like fell off.
It's coming out. It's coming out soon.
Because I remember like the first
Ish.
fucking, didn't they put out a trailer like 6 years ago or something?
I don't think so.
I remember first seeing like clips from it. Like I think they shot it like years and years ago. And it just took forever to get put together.
I don't know.
Or maybe they didn't finish production, or I remember I first heard about it. I just feel like that I was positive that that was gonna stay a half a movie forever. So I'm just excited it's getting made. I really like the first one.
Yeah. Edge of Tomorrow is the one with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. And at first I was like, that looks really stupid. But everyone's been like, this movie's kind of awesome.
Well, you know what? I feel like there's been a lot of not great, but not like depressingly abysmal and not remake of 80s cartoon sci-fi movies coming out lately.
Sure.
And I think, what do you call it was part of this? Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Which these,
Looper.
Yeah, people are like learning how to make movies again after the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Like people in Hollywood are like, they're trying to like, it's like it was a lost art,
Yeah.
you know, where they're going back and people are like, is this what you do with the script? Because like all we've done is fucking write like Transformers 15 for the past decade, and they were like, we gotta reinvent this whole art.
But anyway,
so they're not very good, but it's you know what this movie is? It's not a remake. It's original sci-fi.
And people have been saying
And
that it's actually, have been saying it's pretty good. I don't know about the sci-fi, but they've been like, it's an awesome action movie. And like, I don't hate Tom Cruise. He's a creep of a guy, and like, he's not a great actor all the time, but like, whatever. He likes making movies, and he's not bad in all of them. So
he keeps working.
He keeps working. So everyone's been saying this movie's like really cool. Once I saw a preview, I was like, oh, actually, this seems kind of interesting. So I'm
a sucker for time travel too. So
yeah, and it's like this weird sort of like I don't even know what to call it. Like almost no, I have no idea. Anyway, it's interesting. Seems interesting.
So I'll give it a shot. I'll probably wait for it to come out.
Yeah, it's out.
No, I mean not in theaters. I'm probably not gonna.
Yeah, I probably won't see it in theaters. I think that's all the big movies to talk about besides the other two.
The other two, we're gonna go over tonight, I think, because guys.
Let's talk about X-Men first.
Okay.
Let's talk about X-Men first, because that one we can get out of the way.
Days of Future Past was we're a little bit in disagreement with it, me and Sam. I thought it was just simply the best ever. I thought it was fucking awesome.
I thought it was pretty good. I liked it a lot. I have no real problems with it other than
I think
nerdy problems.
It was
nerdy problems with it.
It's really fucking weird how it fits into the canon.
Okay,
definitely,
here are
I
the things
can't
that I like
argue
about
with
it.
that.
Here are the things I like about it. It's an awesome movie. It has really good characterization. It's beautiful. It has really, really good like superhero sequences. Like great superpower stuff. Like awesome superpower stuff.
Yeah.
From everyone. And it retconned X-Men 3, which is the main reason I like this movie so much. It undid that movie.
And it also
essentially undid that movie.
You didn't even see Wolverine Goes to Japan.
No, I didn't.
And retconned that too. Like stuff that completely they're just like, let's forget about this, because that movie was a fucking abomination.
Yeah, it undid those movies, which is just the best. It just undid them. Just undid them. Those things never happened. I love that. I love that. And it's anyway. So those are the things I like about it. The things I don't like about it are like really nerdy things. Like a little bit of the continuity is a little shaky. I have a hard time sort of putting together all the timeline stuff, and I'm like, whatever, that's not a real problem.
Yeah.
But
and honestly, you know what? It makes it feel more like a comic book almost. Because who's gonna think about trying to sit down with every single X-Man comic ever and try to run a single thread through them?
True.
It's impossible.
But
and that's what the movies are turning into now. So in that context, it doesn't it.
But you can't really compare those two things because they're movies, not comic books. And there's 6 of them, or there's gonna be 6 of them.
6 rather than
700.
Yeah.
So that's a little. But anyway, the problems I have are really slight. Like, one of the big ones is sort of Wolverine's timeline through all of this, where because Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine, though another terrible movie, still is a major canon movie. That's one you can't really get rid of.
So when did that take place?
That's in the late 80s, I think, or early 90s.
So
or somewhere in the 90s, I think it is.
He still has his no metal. He's got no metal, and
and
wait,
which in Days of Future Past?
In Days of Future Past, no metal, and he's basically gone back to points in his timeline that he can't remember. But did he get some of his memory back along?
Wait, what?
Because he lost his memory after Deadpool punched him in the face, right? In the first X-Men. So,
something like that, yeah.
No. It was so he got shot in the head with a something.
Something like that. I don't know.
He got his memory erased, right? So, so now he's timeline that he goes back on. It's not like he wakes up and is like, oh, I remember that lava land.
Yeah.
He goes back and he's living it for the first time because he doesn't remember anything before the late 80s.
Yeah.
So that all made sense.
Or doesn't remember a lot. I think he remembers some of the earlier stuff, but anyway, that doesn't matter.
Yeah. And he got some of his memory about the procedure and stuff back in the later X-Men, maybe?
Yeah, he got he got that back in X2.
Yeah.
He got a lot of that back in X2.
Yeah. So those are things that I needed to sort out. What were you confused about?
It's the timeline sort of where his timeline actually where things fall.
Yeah, we'll talk about this too. We'll talk about some AVGN stuff.
Sure, where it fits in his timeline, because I'm fine. He it's basically the end of the movie is Kid Stryker pulling him out of the water and being like, "Whoa, I can put metal on this dude." Is sort of what it is there.
Sort of.
Because in X-Men Origins Wolverine, he and Sabretooth are in prison in Vietnam together, and that's when Stryker's like, hey, do you guys want to work for me instead?
Mm-hmm.
And then stuff happens like that. And then they go through all that crap, and Wolverine freaks out because he's still a good guy, and then they're like... And then Stryker manipulates him into letting him putting that.
So they changed how he meets Stryker.
Yeah, they kind of messed up the timeline of Wolverine getting into Weapon X and how Weapon X works. They kind of messed that timeline, which is not that big of a deal because again, X-Men Origins Wolverine is a terrible movie.
Dude, and that was my biggest problem with anything in the whole entire franchise so far. Was in the first one, it was so cool. I was like, I don't remember the procedure and experimentation on mutants. It was super dark, and then when they actually show it, it's some tubes go in. It's and it was totally.
It was pretty dark. They stabbed him with a bunch of needles.
I stabbed him with but
What did you think it was?
I don't know. It was I pictured really unbelievably awful Nazi brain surgery stuff.
No, nothing happened to his brain.
No, I mean, you know what I meant.
You should read the comic book. You should read the Wolverine Weapon X comic.
I will. I will do that for you. Anyway, it was presented in such a way in the first X-Men movie that it could never live up to nothing that they could show in a PG-13 rated movie or even an R-rated movie could possibly have lived up to my expectations of like what it was like. And how he lost his memory. Like, I was always under the impression that he lost his memory because of the procedure too, but he lost his memory because he got like punched really hard.
It's more he loses. I think I'm remembering it right. He loses his memory.
They make you do it on purpose because they realized they couldn't kill him, so they shoot him with an adamantium bullet or something.
Well, in the comic, I'm pretty sure he loses his memory because they put that he's in Weapon X and they put the adamantium on him, and then they like recondition him. They brainwash him and turn him into the animal that he is.
See, that is a way more interesting story than...
Yeah, you'd really like the Weapon X. The Wolverine Weapon X is great. It's the one, I'm sure you've seen it, it's the one where he's got the big, like, computer helmet on and, like, the thing on his belt and he's in the snow.
Yeah.
That's where that image is from.
Yeah.
That's him, like, learning how to kill wolves and bears. That's what it is. Turning him into the weapon.
I ate a chocolate bar once that had the whole image of him fighting Wendigo on it.
Oh, nice.
I was in Seattle, and they had these gigantic chocolate bars with like iconic X-Men like frames in it.
Nice.
And it was fucking me and my brother ate it together.
Anyway, so X-Men was really good, and I'm excited to see what the next movie is because it'll be the last in this series of movies. For now, at least, in the last of these prequel X-Men, and it's going to deal with Apocalypse, which they teased at the end of this X-Men movie, which I was reading an article about the other day, and it was basically like, this movie was awesome until I saw the post-credit scene, and then I was like, what do they think they're doing? Because for people that, it was like completely fan service. Because for people that don't know what is anything in that scene is, it's like, I don't know who that person is. Why are we in Egypt all of a sudden? How are the pyramids floating?
I do know that stuff, and just because it wasn't like him from the comic, because it was designed a little bit differently, I even took a second to figure out what the hell was going on.
Yeah, that was very odd. So and like I get it because I know the comics, and they also compared it to like the Avengers post-credit scene, which are like, we don't really know what's going on, but they're introducing new stuff in a way that's like, they're saying like, oh, these are the twins that are going to be a part of the next movie. Mm-hmm. Or like, hey, Collector, let's give you this thing that we dealt with the entire movie. Hey, by the way, don't mess this up. Okay, I won't.
Speaking of twins introduced in the next movie, just want to say, unanimously, everything I've heard from the internet and me and Jordan, best part of the whole movie was fucking Quicksilver.
Oh yeah, totally.
It was the shit.
That was fantastic. I thought it was dealt with like perfectly. They dealt with him being Magneto's son in the perfect way. Which I think my dad
I don't mind.
My mom used to date.
Those
a guy
are
like that.
the fan service things that I don't mind because you wouldn't even notice them.
No, fan service is good if it's like.
If it's super subtle and it's like just something to make you feel a little cooler.
Yeah.
A little more.
But like he was like I think my mom used to like date a guy that could control metal or something like that. And I was like, oh, weird, cool, weird. And then like at the very end, which apparently the directors claim this isn't true, but like Quicksilver's seen like holding a small girl with red hair, who we assume is his sister.
Where did that happen?
At the end of the movie.
Because he's
like
watching
TV.
He's watching them do the thing. Yeah.
And that's the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, no, that's great. Our one question we had though was that scene where it's all slowed down and he puts on his headphones and he's listening to what's his name?
Yeah.
He's Leo Kottke.
Yeah.
Or whoever does that song. That's not Leo Kottke.
Okay.
He's listening to music, Brian.
He's listening to what the fuck?
It doesn't matter.
Guy who did Big Bad Leroy
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, and we were thinking, do you think he like made special tapes where he slowed all his tapes
Interesting.
down?
That's a good question. That'd been funny if they had that like put in earlier in the movie. If they had him like playing a tape that's like super sped up or something like that.
Well, it would have to be super slowed down, I think, right? Or it would have to be
no, because he's going faster. It'd be super sped up.
Okay, yeah.
Because he can hear fast.
Yeah. And the other thing was, does he like go into super fast time, or is he everything always like that for him?
No, he goes into super fast time because he
Okay.
can go normal speed,
Yeah.
but it's like everything seems really slow to him then.
Yeah.
And then when he goes super fast, everything that's the way he things slow down for him.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that was awesome. Sorry, we were talking about Apocalypse.
Anyway, so X-Men is cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the next movie.
Yeah, I'm
set in the 80s, dealing with a really cool story.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Apocalypse is just like, it had to be. I'm glad they waited this long, but like, it's the only place they got left to go.
It really is.
So.
And they've already been to the future, so there's no reason they can't do more future stuff.
Yeah, because they changed it.
Yeah, because they yeah.
I would have. I'm upset that they actually did Phoenix as early on as they did.
Well, they just did it really
but
poorly.
Jean Grey's back. And
Jean Grey's back. Well, they're not gonna do more
Phoenix
movies.
again?
No, they're not gonna do more movies.
Okay.
I don't think. I think I read something that said that they're gonna recast her and Cyclops for the '80s movie because they could show up in there as like teenagers.
Yeah.
So they may do something with them, but what's his face and what's her face don't want to play them.
Well, they've been doing that for like 12 years or some shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That was.
But Hugh Jackman's like, yeah, I'm up for like 10
Hugh
more movies.
Jackman's.
Let's do them all, man.
Hugh Jackman is Wolverine for the rest of
Which
his
is
life.
great.
So
So moving on.
moving on. This is when it gets serious, guys. Me and Sam have not done this until now. We've been holding this off for 5 weeks, knowing that shit's about to get really fucked up in here. But I practiced. I practiced on Chris, and I actually changed his mind. Okay, check this out. I actually convinced him. He was like, no, it was good. And then I explained to him why it wasn't. And then he was like, oh, wait, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
So I've already done this. You know that we've been talking about Godzilla, the Toho Universal collaboration, since we were still at the school of, we were still doing this from the SNFA, and
I still remember being like, guys, check out the first
yeah,
like they released a title.
This
There
is like
a title logo. Whoa.
Godzilla coming out was like an end of an age in my life. It's like I can go on to the next thing now.
Yeah.
You know, and
Can I preface all of this?
yeah.
For you viewers, a disclaimer that when we first talked about this after I came home, Brian said, am I the only one that kind of likes the 1998 version of Godzilla? Okay, continue.
No, I know that I'm the only one.
Continue.
And the
I'm
thing
just
is,
letting you know
let's
Brian
say-
likes that one.
I don't. I mean, it's the only real. I mean, there's lots of problems with that movie. It's a shitty movie, but it's like not really. There's nothing. The biggest problem with it is that it was called Godzilla. Had that just been a monster movie, it just would have been a goofy fucking monster movie that had like just and it would have been fine.
Okay, go on. With the original.
So basically, everyone loves Godzilla except for me and Jordan. I thought it was a train wreck stuffed inside of Satan's asshole.
Yeah, there was actually a train wreck in it.
There was a train wreck in it. It was bad.
Okay, go on. Get to the point.
It was a really bad
Here's how
movie.
this is going to work. Brian's going to say something. I'm going to counter
Okay.
it. Then Brian will say another thing, and then I'm going to counter.
First, I want to say counter something that Sam already said when he got home, which was, you just wanted it to be like the original Godzilla
High
movies.
expectations.
Which, first of all, did not have high expectations. I tried really hard. And the thing is, there were great parts of this movie. And it started out really strong. And I tried hard, even while watching it, to look on the bright side. And I couldn't. I mean, I'm not gonna say that like. Okay, I'm trying to organize this. After weeks of practice, I'm still having trouble. First of all, apparently Toho. I was waiting for the Toho logo to come up at the end. Apparently they were like peaced out like as quick as they could because they saw it coming and they just didn't want to be associated with it. So I definitely wasn't like nostalgia jerking on this. I was prepared for it to be something. I do all the time. Prepared for it to be something new. I did see it in theaters. It was not lobster stuffed with tacos. I was totally prepared for it to be something different. And I will say that when you're dealing with something as uber classic as Godzilla, you gotta pay tribute. But I was totally willing for it to be something new and different, and it wasn't. The fact that it was new and different, if it wasn't new and different, it was just fucked up. Okay, first of all, Godzilla.
That's not different. That's not the opposite of new and different.
I don't know. Godzilla isn't in it. First of all, I think he gets maybe like 15 minutes of actual screen time. About.
I think that's a bit of a. It's a little hyperbolic.
Might not be though.
You gotta talk more.
Okay, so Godzilla's barely in it. It was I quote this from Red Letter Media, who actually liked it, but they did say that it was Cloverfield 2 featuring Godzilla, which is really what it felt like to me. And like the parts that I really liked were the parts just with the other two monsters by themselves. Doing it or doing whatever. The scene where they attack the train was awesome.
Yeah, it was
that whole part, and it had this kind of like disaster movie vibe, where like you always see like shit exploding like over in the distance, you know. Me and Chris were talking about, and of course we got heavily into postmodernism. We decided that this is distinctly the first post 9/11 Godzilla movie. Because it's like, you know, it's always,
film, yeah.
Yeah, it's
me and Carrie talking about the same thing.
Yeah, it's felt like those scenes felt like a disaster film, and that was way cooler.
Yeah, I really liked the whole
again,
disaster
like
vibe of the stuff that happened in the sort of like post-nuclear fake meltdown in Japan, the stuff that was happening in Hawaii, that sort of like catastrophic at an airport sort of thing that was really bad, and then also all the stuff in San Francisco. I thought that was all really cool.
The handheld shaky cam actually it wasn't as out of hand as it could have been.
Was there a handheld shaky cam?
I mean, it just not to the extent that it's in every fucking action movie now.
Right. Okay,
but
I guess that's.
It wasn't,
I hate to think though that I've been so desensitized to
that you don't even
shaky cam that I don't even see it anymore.
But yeah, there was some of that. So yeah, that was that. And I'd say that opening, the whole opening was great. If you haven't seen it yet, and
you're an idiot.
I gotta go. I just gotta go into it.
Just do it. Let's do step by step. Okay, let's do step by step.
Okay, so it starts out. We have this guy, and
we have Walter White.
We have Walter White, who's great, and there's a nuclear meltdown because of some unknown something and seismic activity, and it's weird, and the center's moving, and his wife dies in the nuclear meltdown. So obviously, already like this dude has motivation. And then later he's like gone nuts, and this is years later.
Because he's like, I know this didn't happen because of there was no.
He knew it wasn't an accident, and then his son comes to visit him, and they break onto the base, and they find out that this guy's keeping a monster there, and this guy, and it was the monster that made it, and the monster breaks out, and it's going really cool, and then he's all Walter, what's his name, is all pissed off about it, and then there's a scientist who's now like. The Japanese scientist.
Ken Watanabe.
Yeah, and now he's like, he feels, bad, but like these guys hate each other. So like, this is starting to sound like we have characters with like tension, and there's this great moment, and it was the highest I felt in the whole thing was when Ken Watanabe, is it? Some guy comes up and is like, is there anyone they're going to chase the monster for the first time? He says, is there anyone from your staff who you need? And he points to
Walter White.
To Walter White.
On the stretcher.
On the stretcher, he's getting loaded into an ambulance or something. He's like, I need him. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool, because like these two guys who hate each other, and like this guy because his wife died, and this guy, like, they have tension, and now they have to work together to fight the monster. And like that sounds like a movie. And then, all of a sudden, for no fucking reason, Walter White dies immediately thereafter and is replaced as the lead with some fucking guy.
His son.
His son, played by the dude from Kick-Ass, who was...
We'll get into that later. We'll get into that
character
later.
ever.
We'll get into that later.
So,
not character, actor.
and then nothing happened for the rest of the movie until Godzilla fights for like 10 minutes at the end with the other monsters.
Well, okay, but here
we have-
I would argue.
Yep.
I would argue that a lot of stuff happened. Here's what I would say: the whole opener is really great, and then they get the two guys who it's gonna be like, "Whoa, this is gonna be like really cool," and then
Yeah.
they totally flip it around and take it in an entirely new direction. So they do, and I didn't see that as abandonment, but as like, okay, this is what you're expecting, but we're gonna do something totally different now. We're gonna take it into through the eyes of someone who's not afraid, and all they're trying to do is get back home, but
Yeah.
they know that they have a responsibility to do stuff other than that, because it is a disaster film,
Yeah.
and not like a kaiju film, because it's not like a monster movie. You know, it's a movie about it, and that's my main argument. Is the reason I don't have a problem with all that stuff is because it's a movie about the people. It's the ground level.
Okay.
It's the ground level view
Well,
of
now,
what Godzilla
now we're
is.
talking about what we were talking about before, where it's like, then that movie would have been so much better off had Godzilla not been in it. Because check it out, we got these monsters introduced, and we got the story, it's going along, and so we're going with it, it's a disaster movie thing. And then literally the way they introduce Godzilla is like, hey guys, like there's a movie about these monsters, but don't worry, there's this other monster called Godzilla who's gonna come and fight him. And
Sure.
they literally just tell you.
Yeah.
Like there's no reveal, and it's just like, it seriously felt like they had already written a script, and they're like, shit, we gotta put Godzilla in there to make it work. Which ironically is what Toho used to do all the time. But they were like, we gotta like sell it by like really fucking shoehorning in this this name that people will go there.
Sure. Well, okay, so here's how I see. Here's how I see that though.
I'm sorry. If you want to make that movie, if you want to make the monster movie made into a disaster movie, then don't make it a Godzilla movie.
Well, okay, here's how maybe it shouldn't have been called Godzilla, but here's why I think it was still awesome in that sense, is because it wasn't a movie about Godzilla, it was a movie about the people and the way that these other two monsters were totally messing up everybody's life. But the reveal of Godzilla was essentially, they didn't say this, but it was essentially like, this dude used to help us out all the time, and now we're just waiting for him to show up so he can help us again. That's kind of how I felt about it. Because they didn't say that explicitly, but Ken Watanabe was kind of like there's rumors of this, like, you know, hero of, you know, my people that we call Gojira, and hopefully he'll come rescue us. Which was sort of like, I felt like that was a callback, you know what I mean?
Movie, that's the thing. First of all, I want to say this movie structurally was really, really close to Godzilla vs. King Kong.
Was it?
It just the way it was laid out. It was this kind of series of evacuations, and the way they introduced them, like Godzilla vs. King Kong, they were crossing all of Japan, north to south, to meet each other in the middle and fight. And the only explanation you got is there was a newsroom at one point where this guy just goes, Godzilla and King Kong are natural enemies from prehistoric times. And that's the only explanation you get for why they're going through all this trouble. And so it really felt like that, and that's what I'm saying. Had this been, I don't know, had this been the sequel to the movie that they should have made, it would have been awesome. Because it felt like a mid-60s Godzilla. It felt like one of the, you know, more, like, kind of hokey. Structurally, it was like one of those...
Like serial Godzilla stories. Like Godzilla is from space now.
So, when I try to think of this as a reboot, it just doesn't work. Because you need to... It feels more like a sequel.
And here, I don't see it as a reboot. I see it more as a sequel. But not as a direct sequel, but more of as, like, we're continuing with Godzilla, but... in America, we're going to do it differently.
And that's kind of the way that they did it. That's how the Millennium series started.
Okay.
That's how the Millennium series started. The Godzilla timeline is a fucking mess.
Well, yeah.
I don't know if you know this. There was like the first one, then a direct sequel, and then the whole franchise that was sort of direct sequels, but it didn't. They just got weird. And then, in like the 80s, they made a direct sequel to the first one that ignored all the other ones aside from the first one. And then that had a whole series of quasi-direct sequels that were really weird. And then they made and then that ended. But it ended with Godzilla dying, but then there was a new Godzilla. And then they made Godzilla 2000, and that was a lot like this one, where it wasn't like a new series where they clearly started a new thing. It kind of jumped into what would have been the middle of one of the other series, but it was unclear if it was the new Godzilla, like it was direct continuation, it was the new Godzilla that was made at the end of the Hesus series, or it was like a direct continuation. Like they just abandoned it.
Yeah.
And this kind of had that vibe where the timeline was really confusing because it seemed to ignore all the ones that had come before it, because there was never a point where like, remember the other time that the monsters attacked? But it was like kind of fit in that space.
Yeah.
Which just really kind of threw me the fuck off.
I kind of liked that about it. That's something I liked about it, was that it clearly wasn't like, because the whole time I was like, are they going to mention that this dude used to like knock stuff down before too?
Okay.
But then it wasn't that, but they were still like, they kind of hinted that Godzilla is something that's known.
So again, what movie do you want to make? Do you want to make the monster movie turn into a disaster movie that's about this guy, juggling his duties to his family versus his duty to his country? And do you want to do that, or do you want to make the new Godzilla movie, or do you want to make like the other new Godzilla?
What if we see it this way? Hang on, let's look at it this way. What if this was the introduction of Godzilla into a new series of Godzilla movies about Godzilla? So this was, the world is like fucked, like there's giant monsters attacking San Francisco now and like trying to make a nest because they don't care about the people. This is just where they make their nest. Yeah. This just happens to be where it is. But then there's this awesome dude Godzilla that comes up and like almost loses, but ends up saving the freaking world, and then goes into the ocean until the next time he returns. You know what I mean? So what if this is more of an introduction of Godzilla, and they used not Godzilla as the vehicle, but the story as a vehicle to introduce Godzilla?
I mean, I guess, yeah. We'll see what happens. But okay, but here's what I'm saying. If you're going to do that, if you're going to go this route, that's going to be like, that you're kind of jumping into this world of Godzilla that's already kind of maybe been established somewhere else that you didn't see. If you're gonna do that, then make that movie, and that movie has fucking monster fights in it. And now we get to the biggest goddamn problem with this whole thing, is that like Let's continue with the play-by-play.
Yeah.
It falls apart. We get the cool guy dies. The boring guy replaces him.
And the boring guy has to get back.
Ken Watanabe then also pretty much goes away, and they just have him pop up every time, and he looks directly into the camera and goes, man is powerless against nature, just to try and trick you into thinking that you're watching a Godzilla movie every now and then, and it's really awkward. So that's going on, but I'm starting to get really worried. And then they get to Hawaii, and then Godzilla comes out of the ocean. It's like, fuck yeah, like now this movie's gonna start. Got a little shaky there, started out good, got a little shaky, now this is gonna happen, and these two monsters are gonna fight in an airport, and it's gonna be great, right? And literally, like, he comes up and he goes, ah, and he roars, and he cuts away, and then you watch that whole fight in like little like clips in a fucking TV in the background with the kid standing in front of it. Well, this chick is talking on a phone over here, and it was like the cruelest, shittiest joke that you could have possibly.
Sure.
And they thought, that they thought it was hilarious. They thought it was so fucking funny.
I don't think that they were. No, what are you talking about? They weren't trying to be humorous. That's called not revealing the monster fight until the big climax of the movie. That's called holding off on the climax.
Then what the fuck is the movie about?
It's about the people.
And that's
It's about the people.
Well, the people suck.
Okay, but see, that's what I'm saying. This is your expectation of what the film is supposed to be.
Okay.
They made a different film, and you're saying, why didn't they make the film that I wanted them to make?
Well, but
That's literally what you're saying.
What I'm saying is they didn't know what film they want to make because they're gonna if they want to.
How do you know they didn't know? How can you say they didn't know what film they wanted?
Because if they're gonna make
again your expectation
No.
of what the movie should have been, and you're saying they clearly didn't make that movie. So
you
what
keep
kind of movie
saying
did they want to make?
They wanted to make a movie about the people, but the people were fucking boring.
Well, that's just because maybe they weren't very good at making that movie.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that wasn't the
It's
movie
like
they wanted to make. That's like saying, boy, I wanted to make a movie about teapots, but these teapots are really ugly. I guess it's not a movie about teapots.
It's.
That's like that's
yeah.
Just because it's a bad movie doesn't mean it's not about what it's about.
I know. I'm saying that it was like 3 movies at once, and they all sucked in and of themselves. It was a shitty monster fight movie because it kept like thinking it was being cute. And that happens like 3 times. It's like, oh, they're gonna fight. Oh no, you don't get to watch it. And there's like, oh, the new monster broke out, and he's gonna walk over the Las Vegas Strip, and then you don't get to see that. And they think that's cute too. And then it happens again when they're in San Francisco, like, oh, they're gonna fight. Oh no, the door is closed in front of them. And it's
but
like,
then we see like a 20-minute fight.
No, you see like a 6-minute fight that like they'll show it, and then we're like, oh, but then last name McSurname
No,
is
they
planting a bomb,
like,
is fixing a bomb.
They fought for like 20 minutes.
they did, but you were watching other stupid shit. You were watching that
Because it
boring
wasn't
guy.
about them. Because it was about the guy.
So you keep cutting off. Are you gonna make you simultaneously? You made a shitty kaiju movie and a shitty disaster movie at the same time.
Why is
They're
it
just
shitty?
bouncing
Why
off.
are they shitty?
Because
Why is it shitty?
as a kaiju movie, it failed because there wasn't enough. There wasn't enough action. There wasn't enough. Like, if you go to see, I want to see a movie about monsters fighting, and you want to just see like monsters fighting, and like it's brainless, and that's what it's about. So it failed to do that. And then on the disaster movie front, you want to see characters that you give a shit about, like you would in any movie. It's like, this guy, he cares about his wife, but like we only know that because like he keeps saying it.
How else are you supposed to present a how they also
like,
all the emotion and like moments they have with each other.
Those
The emotions that they
those
emote
moments were bad.
at
I
the
didn't say that.
Okay, so are you
that
saying
they
it's
didn't
a
happen.
are you saying it's a poorly made film, or it's not the film that you? Are you saying it's a bad movie, or are you saying like it sucks because it's not enough of this?
Both.
Okay, but
it failed as a kaiju movie, which would have been okay if it had been a good disaster movie, but then that sucked too.
See, I disagree. I think it was a good disaster movie, but you gotta take into account the perspective from which it was presented. It's presented it through basically one guy's eyes, seeing all these different points. I mean, it was clearly structured so that we saw, him. The action followed him, and we saw all the different points.
Okay.
Because that was the path he took. So we saw all these different disasters happening all over the world, right?
Yeah.
Because of the path that he took. Meanwhile, we're following his story of trying to get back home, but being conflicted and trying to also, essentially fight for his country, which I admit was a little loose. It was kind of like, well, okay, like why are we dealing with him fighting for his country when he just wants to get back home?
Yeah.
But it was interesting that he had the response. He had that drive to continue getting back home, while also, allowing us to, witness, almost like propagandized witness, disaster through the eyes of a soldier.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Well,
meanwhile, we also have the kaiju monsters, who
the
film
don't, but okay.
is not about.
Yeah.
It is about them, but it is about them as a means of disaster.
Yeah.
We see from the ground level, and literally, like, the film is shot so that most of it we see from the ground level as if we were there, what these giant monsters would be like. It's shot so that we see from the ground level what the disaster caused by them and what a first-hand account of them would be. And then we also get Godzilla not just simply as, the archetypal and the enigmatic character, but also as sort of the spirit of protection, that lives within the main character. And granted, sure, not a very interesting character, not a very good actor, not a very well-directed film, but we get all these really, really interesting points. Okay. We get really good action scenes in Hawaii where it's not all about the monsters. It's It's about the people on the ground and how we see it. It's about when the soldiers first are looking for the monster that's hiding in the jungle, eating the bomb or eating the plane, or
who they
whatever.
don't see even though they're next to it.
Well, I know that, but we see it
another
from,
continuous
we see it
problem.
from their
is
perspective.
The recurring, why didn't they see that when they were driving
Sure,
up to
but
it?
we see it from their perspective. You know, it's not about like,
Yeah.
oh, the monster's like eating
Okay,
the stick. It's about
well,
the
let me-
characters.
let me
Hang
tell
on,
you-
hang on, and then. You know, when we're in San Francisco, it's not all about the monsters fighting. It's about the soldiers trying to get in to destroy, you know, this nest because it's going to release 1 billion more, like, winged things.
Yeah. Let me tell you why all that was awful, too.
Okay.
One, you say, oh, it's like this guy is following the disaster. First of all, it wasn't. The disaster was following him, which is just bad script writing. Like, how is this guy at every single fucking place where something went wrong over and over again?
Because he kept catching the military things. That's why, because it was like he got on the boats that happened because it was the only boats leaving Japan to go to Hawaii to get, you know, to the thing, and then he was going to get on the airplane, but the airport was shut down, so he hitched a ride with the military to get to, and the military ended up going to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh shit, they need a dude on the train, so he went with the train.
That's just sloppy writing that, like, the character, he always happens to be where the monster shows up.
I mean, I guess it's kind of sloppy writing, but I was okay with it because it was sort of, it was like, it kept, like, being like, oh, he's gonna get, oh, but no, wait, the military. Oh, but he's gonna get, oh, but wait, the military. Yeah. And that, I'll admit, that is one actual problem I had with the film, again, was the sort of, like, severe propaganda that was in the film of, like, you know, these soldiers, like, it's so hard for them to get home, and, like, they're constantly, you know, bogged down by the responsibility of fighting for America. That was kind of like, all right.
Okay, so now I get back, and let's see this thing that you keep saying, you keep citing as a problem. So you wanted to see the same movie that you always see.
No, not it's like, see the same movie that you always see. You had expectations of what this movie was going to be.
You know what? I fucking did, because it's a Godzilla movie, and because there's been 30 of them.
Sure.
There's been 35 of them, I think,
or
something like that. And it's like, if you said, what if a James Bond movie came out and okay, good example, Casino Royale was like totally like spun it around, and it was like, oh shit,
and it was
so
awesome,
good. And it was awesome.
Okay. So what are you saying?
But it's still, how do I phrase this? But it still was like about James Bond. If you then made and him doing spy shit and thing, if you then made a James Bond movie that was like,
here's what I think you're trying to say.
Yeah.
What if there was a James Bond movie where the entire time James Bond was dead and it was all about the people dealing with him being dead, and like, but James Bond is dead. How are we supposed to deal with the stuff?
Yeah.
I would love to see that movie.
I
think that would be totally cool because it's a totally like James Bond is gone, but we still have to watch all these people like in the midst of like mass murder and destruction have to deal with like James, and then at the end he comes back and he's like, wait, no, I'm not fucking dead, I'm James Bond, and then he kills the dude. You know what I mean?
I would feel fucking ripped off if I paid $13 or whatever.
I wouldn't at all. I think that would be totally cool. That'd be so interesting. Hey, what about this?
Yeah,
what if they
I did want to see the same movie over and over again. I want to see a fucking Godzilla movie. You say, hey guys, we're making a Godzilla movie. Isn't it going to be great? But no.
See, but that's what I'm saying. You go in with the expectation of like this typical thing, and then when it's different, you're like, it sucked. I don't like it. It sucked.
No, it didn't suck because it was different. It sucked because it sucked.
I don't think it sucked. If you're okay, then Brian, if your argument is going to be it sucked because of all the things that makes a movie bad, you can't be it sucked because it wasn't a good kaiju film. You can't say it wasn't a good kaiju film then, because that's not what makes the movie bad. That's your expectation of it not being good enough.
Yeah, once again, it failed on every single one of those fronts. It was a bad script. It was
okay, don't mention it being a kaiju film or a disaster film.
Okay, again. Let's leave those two out.
No more. I expected it to be this, and it wasn't.
It's impossible to leave that out though, because it's.
Look at it from a completely analytical point of view. Pretend you never saw Godzilla before.
Well, then it just would have been boring.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was boring at all. I think it was a really interesting story, telling of what disaster, is like, especially this day and age. And at the same time, it had this really interesting story about like, how nature is like really sort of destructive, and how in reality, like, I wish that they had touched more on like how the Earth can destroy.
The only reason it said that is because Ken Watanabe told you that every now and then.
But
there was no actual allegory.
But if he hadn't been in the movie, it still would have made sense, because it's all about how like there's no way we can control the nature, because before he said anything like that, it was like there's this thing living in the Earth, and like what are we supposed to do about this? And then it starts like, hang on a second. And then it starts like destroying the Earth, and they're like, we don't know what to do. It eats our biggest weapons. Like, how are we supposed to destroy this? Like, what are we supposed to do? And then it's the spirit of man in the end that ends up stopping it. It's I have to protect the people I love that ends up like ending it in the end. Pretend it's a hurricane. It's like there's this giant hurricane, and we don't know what to do, and then this dude stops it. And, like, yeah, granted, like, the monster fight at the end, it was like Godzilla ultimately stops those two monsters. But in reality, it was the crappy actor that throws the bombs in the egg sacs and, like, stops the world from ending.
Yeah. No,
So in that way, it's, man is really inhibited by nature, and we really can't do anything.
The allegory was, yet again, it was bad allegory in and of itself, because it wasn't, like, it wasn't presented as, like, there's this force of nature, and how do you control nature? You're humbled before it.
Mm-hmm.
The only time you ever got a hint of that was when Ken Watanabe fucking took his hammer and
but that's what I'm saying. That's not true, because the entire film was about how they can't stop the monster.
Yeah.
The whole film was how they can't stop the monster.
I didn't get that from it, and because at the end, it's what do they do to fight it? They blow it up with a bomb, and then Godzilla kills it
because it's a monster. I mean, it's a monster.
Have you seen the original Godzilla?
Yes, I've seen Godzilla.
How do we created him because of like we thought we were awesome, and we built the nuclear bomb, and then that turned around on us, and now like the world is getting its revenge.
Sure.
And so now how do we stop that by fucking everything up way more, by eviscerating an entire sea.
Sure.
And then it's like, and it just keeps getting worse, and where does it end? That's good allegory, And this is like, nature, but we could just kill it. We could just put a bomb on it in the end.
Okay, but see, that didn't work, because they didn't destroy the monsters in the end with the bomb.
No, and then Godzilla does, so it just doesn't make sense.
Because Godzilla always destroys the monster in the end and then walks back into the sea.
Okay.
That's the archetype of Godzilla.
Now you're talking about expectations now.
No, that's not expectations.
No, you're talking about expectations based on other Godzilla movies.
No.
Had there never been any other Godzilla movies,
that's not
you would have expected
expectations.
that.
You're mistaking expectations.
No, I'm right.
No,
I am right.
Shut up. You're mistaking expectations for reusing old elements of films. I'm not talking about what I thought the movie should be. I'm saying this used to happen in those films, and so therefore, again, it happened in this film.
See, if I used that argument, you would have just said, "Oh, that was because you want to see the
because you would have said it should have happened this way, like it did in this, but it didn't. It happened a different way, which sucked because it wasn't like this." Okay. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they used the line, and then this happened in this film, so they use it again in this film as a callback. Completely different. It's not my expectation.
So what you're saying is that it's good when they use callbacks, but it's not okay to not be upset when they don't use callbacks.
You can not like that.
Yeah.
But you can't say it's a bad film because it wasn't like the other film.
I'm not saying it was a bad film because it wasn't.
No, you did. You did just say that. You said I expected this and it wasn't that, so it sucked.
No, Sam. I just said. You just said that, actually. No. You said it was good. It was a good callback, and I said, well.
It was a nice callback. That was nice to see that again. It's like when you have it's like in a James Bond movie. Here we go.
You got a double standard.
It's like in X-Men when like Xavier's in this movie for like 2 seconds. It's like, oh, cool, like they have Xavier in that movie.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like that same sort of thing. It's
like
they use Patrick Stewart.
Talking about both sides of your mouth. Right now.
I think that I'm losing the conversation in your head, and that's why you're saying that.
No, Jordan. Can you help me out here?
I'm not on the show.
Okay, fine.
I think Godzilla was a good movie, and here's why.
I hate it now more than I did when I saw it.
I think you need to see it again, and here's why.
Listen.
Just listen. You're not on the movie. You're not on the show, remember? Listen. I think you need to see it again, because I think it would be nice for you to see it not trying to not trying to find what is good or bad with it. I think it would be good to see without any expectations of anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be good for you to see the movie from a purely analytical standpoint.
Yeah.
Sure, it's not like the best movie ever. Yeah, it's not like super great. It's a hell of a lot better than the 1998 Godzilla, just in terms of being a movie.
I don't think it is.
Just in terms of like
that movie had a beginning and a middle and an end.
That movie
like
sucked, man.
I
That
mean,
movie was bad.
It was awful, but it was.
I think this movie was better than that. Secondly, I'm gonna.
It was.
I don't usually like doing
sound.
this, but just in terms of again analysis, purely analysis.
Yeah.
I gotta bring up backing of critics, of professionals.
Yeah.
You gotta bring that. If it was a bad movie, I'd do the same thing.
Everyone loves this movie, aside from me and Jordan and like 2 people I met.
Because it's not a bad movie. That's what I'm saying. Because it's not a terrible movie. It's not a great movie. It's not a great movie. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie, but it's not a terrible movie.
Yeah.
And third of all, I think that it is an extremely interesting new take on what Godzilla could mean, on what the umbrella term of Godzilla could mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In terms of disaster, in terms of nature, in terms of monster.
It was really close. I just felt like it didn't know which movie it wanted to make, and so it was tripping. This movie was just running into itself constantly.
I don't feel
constantly cutting off itself in the middle of sentences and saying something different.
I think that
it was
a
giant contradiction.
Okay, I don't know where you're getting contradiction. I think that there were parts of it that were. I think a lot of it was sort of, blockbuster hype.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like blockbuster, like, oh no, not yet. I think there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
There are definitely. I have problems with.
Yeah.
I have problems.
It's like, okay, if you're gonna say it's like it's not about the monsters fighting, it's like, well, I could have dealt with it the first fucking time you didn't get to see a monster trash something.
Okay, but then
like, they kept doing it. It was just annoying.
But then the monster fight at the end is awesome.
It was
like,
bittersweet, man.
Awesome monster fight.
Because
that's a really good monster fight. And then when his back lights up, that was just like, oh shit, here it comes. Oh my god. And it was awesome. Yeah. And then he dies, and then he doesn't die. And then the end of the movie, let's just talk about the last scene for just a second. Like, like family, like, I don't care about the people anymore.
Yeah.
But then, like, Godzilla's dead. But wait, no, he's not. He wakes up, walks over, out everything. Everybody's like, we love Godzilla. And then he walks into the ocean, and then the movie ends. That was perfect.
The end was great. If Godzilla had died because a building fell on him, I would have taken a shit.
Yeah, I liked that sort of, like, I gotta say, I did like that sort of, like, almost like realistic animal sense of it, though. You know what I mean? Like non-god.
Yeah.
Like actual, like, this is how animals would act sort of style to it. I like that in Godzilla.
Yeah, I can dig that.
You know what I mean?
What you mean? How he fucking shoots fire down his throat?
No, but you know what I mean. Sort of just like this is
really.
Like the whole stuff with the other two. What are they called? The Mutos.
Yeah.
Sort of like I really like their sort of the whole. Him flying around, like, trying to protect the nest and stuff like that, and her, like, running back to it was on fire. Like, it was very animalistic in that way, which it was much less, humans as monsters and much more animals that were gigantic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm really excited to see it again, because I also want to see it again, not sitting there going, this is fucking awesome the whole time. You know what I mean?
Want to take every copy of this film and throw it into a volcano.
No, I'm going to make you watch it again, because...
There's no, not a fucking chance that that's ever going to happen.
You're just being thick then.
No, I did. What's the problem with me not liking it, Sam?
You can not like it. I just want you to see it again so that you're not basing everything in a really...
Sam, name something you don't like. Name a food you don't like.
What do I not like? I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Name anything you don't like.
I know there are foods I don't like. I just can't think of them.
I mean, not even doesn't have to be food. Anything you don't like.
Bug bites.
No,
Try bug bites again.
That's too hard. Yeah. What if I was like,
You
Sam,
might
just go
like
out,
them the second
just go out
time
and
around.
let bugs bite you and just see, you know.
No, but that's different because no one likes that.
Okay, well that's why it was a shitty example. That's what I was trying to go with food.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if it was something that you did, if it was a food you didn't like, it'd be like, you know, you tried it once, thinking it was gonna be something else. Try
And
it
I
again,
threw up.
but try it again because you thought it was gonna be something completely different. You know what I mean?
No.
That's a pretty valid reason to see a movie again.
I can't explain to you why this wasn't. I didn't dislike it because I'm not gonna say I disliked it. I'm not gonna say that I disliked it because it didn't live up to my expectations. That's not true. But that's only one of the reasons I didn't like it. Had it been something completely different and had it worked, I would have been like, yeah. But it wasn't.
I think it worked.
It was. I felt, you know what, this movie was making fun of. Okay, it did this other thing. It did the disaster movie thing, which I thought failed in and of itself. And then the whole rest of the time, it was making fun of me for wanting it to have been a kaiju movie.
See, you're making it personal there.
It felt personal. I felt like this fucking movie was mocking me.
I didn't feel it was personal. Neither did anybody else. Okay, hang on. That doesn't matter. Why did it fail as a disaster movie?
What? Because the human element was just poorly done. Like I said, the script was kind of tacky. As the disasters were following this guy.
Leading the guy. Disasters were leading the guy.
Yeah, it didn't, like you said, the allegory that came in.
As a disaster movie, though. What?
I mean, a disaster movie still has to like mean something.
Sure.
I just didn't do it for me, and that was it just didn't work for me. That wasn't like an affront against me.
Yeah.
Like that was just like, and again, there were parts of it that I thought were great. The scene at the train, if the whole movie had been like that, it would have been fucking awesome. That whole like 10-minute sequence or whatever it was great.
I really
and it's just like, oh, he falls in the water and he's the only one who lives, and then he's the only one who can fix it, and then
it was definitely like,
and then he hitches the ride.
There.
He's in Hawaii, and they're like, "You're in the army? I'm in the army too. Like, I'll just jump on your fucking truck and my jeans."
It's not like a great movie. Yeah, no. It's definitely like really like, okay, that's not how.
But that was just like, that wasn't, and then.
That was kind of shitty, but like,
and
whatever.
Then while it was doing that, I felt like it was like, hey, we did this other movie, and all you fuckfaces who wanted to see a Godzilla movie, we're gonna taunt you about that. We're gonna kill.
Maybe it wasn't made.
We're gonna take the. It wasn't. It was made It was a personal attack on me.
Okay.
This movie was.
All right.
Because that was like, we're gonna kill.
We now get to the roots.
We're gonna take the characters that you wanted to see, and we're gonna kill one of them and extract the other. We're gonna take the monster fight that you wanted to see, and we're gonna act like we're gonna show it to you, and then put it on a fucking movie with a kid watching it, because you're a little kid who wants to dance around.
Kid a lot and stuff.
Yeah,
analytically, man, you gotta get out of your anger and frustration and into like objective thinking.
We just did this. I thought it was a bad movie already, and then it simultaneously failed in its own right and let me down. That's the thing. It failed to meet my expectations, which would have been okay had it been a good movie on its own, and did something different successfully, but it didn't. It like I keep saying, it was two movies, and I felt like at points it wanted to be the kaiju movie, and it wouldn't allow itself to. And then again, there was really good disaster moments. It wanted to be that movie, but then it would like yank back and like be a like tacky monster movie for a second. There was a shitty movie and a really shitty movie, and they were hitting into each other in a shitty collision.
I felt like the disaster movie and the monster movie actually mixed really well together, because most of the time, we didn't see the monsters directly affecting the disaster.
Yeah.
We saw the we saw the disaster as a result of the monsters,
Yeah.
not them being like, I'm gonna knock down this building, but like Godzilla's coming out of the water and he's gonna fight the monsters, but causes like a gigantic tidal wave and kills thousands of people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I thought that was a really good disaster part. You know, monster goes into the airport and like doesn't hate people, just doesn't want to die and like is threatened by all the lights, so like blows up a train because he's like, I don't freaking like this train. Like this train's trying to kill me. You know what I mean? Or like in Las Vegas, like we didn't see Las Vegas get destroyed, but literally the only reason it got destroyed was because the monster walked directly through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I thought that the disaster part of the movie was like really solid as a result of the monster part of the movie. I thought those two parts actually mixed really well together, just in terms of you know, sort of like, you know, plot points.
I think I could take all the things. I think I could do all that. I could make a better movie.
Do it, man. I'd love to see
I'm
it.
gonna.
Okay.
I was putting it together in my head by the time I walked in.
Do it.
I got it. It's gonna. It's. I'm
all over it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. Anyway, I really like this movie. I stand behind my really liking it. Brian clearly stands behind his hating it. I love to talk to Chris
pissed
O'Grady.
in my eyes to wash it out after I saw it.
That's probably why your eyes so itchy.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I'm excited to see it again. I want to read some reviews just to see what other people
I
said.
think if they made a sequel to this and they made this movie again, it would be great. Again, this should have been the sequel to another Godzilla movie, and it would have been awesome.
You know, let's see, because I like the idea that this was the introduction, like the reintroduction of Godzilla. I kind of like that idea, but I have no good expectations for a sequel.
No.
I cannot see a sequel of this being good.
No.
I could see that like totally sucking, because it would be like trying to be a sequel to this while also becoming a new Godzilla movie. Like that, I could be like, this is gonna suck because they're gonna try and do like 50 things at once here, and that's just I don't think that's gonna be good.
I don't know, man.
Also, if they just do the same thing again, like this worked once.
Well,
for this movie.
again,
it worked. The way they did this worked.
You
once.
can't make a sequel to this.
It can't be the same.
You can't make a sequel to this movie because this movie was already a sequel to a movie that doesn't exist. So
why do you see this one as a sequel?
It just didn't feel like a. And again, I'm talking about expectations here, but you kind of gotta when you're dealing with, you know, one of the most well-established kind of cinema tropes of all time. It's like,
hang on, well, okay.
It didn't have that kind of collected allegorical the themes and the structure and everything. It just let's talk about that for a second, though. Yeah,
that's an interesting point. To what percentage of the American population do you think that this is an established, series and theme
that's
style,
a good point.
Blah 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 filming? You know what I mean?
Because
That's a big argument for it being a completely different.
This was
it was clearly an American film.
Yeah. And there have been now, in my lifetime, 3 Godzilla movies that have been released theatrically in the United States. There's Matthew Broderick, 1998, which wasn't a Godzilla movie. Godzilla 2000.
Was that in theaters?
Yeah, it came out here. I went and I saw it. And that was kind of like, meh.
Was it Toho?
It was.
So it was released in America.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was very much like this one, like threw you right into what would have been the middle of either of the 2 previous series. Started with Godzilla being come save you from another monster. And it was pretty shitty. It was fine as a Godzilla movie, but it didn't stand on its own because again it's not a thing in America really,
Mm-hmm.
And then, the only one that had been released previous to that was Godzilla 1989, which came out in 1987, weirdly enough, I think. 87 or 86. Which that was forgotten, and that movie was fucking awesome. That was a direct sequel to 54. Actually, again, about the timeline getting weird. That wasn't even a direct sequel to 54. That was a direct sequel made by Toho to the version of the 54 one that was released in America that had the extra footage of Raymond Burr shot for it so they could have a white guy in it. And then they took that and Toho made a direct sequel to that with Raymond Burr in it.
Weird.
Really weird. But that movie was great. And that it ignored all the interim. So that was the second in that particular timeline. And that was already, like, forgotten. I think that did probably pretty well when it came to America. But it was also, like, it was good on its own, where Godzilla 2000, you kind of needed.
That's the thing. I don't remember even Godzilla 2000 coming out, and I've seen like a handful of the Godzilla movies. You know what I mean? So I'm not like huge on it or anything like that. But you know, what percentage of the population understands Godzilla for what it really is?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like how much of it, you know, expectations of, you know, our opinions aside.
Yeah.
The movie as a successful film. Or a you know,
does not hinge for most of the general public in the United States on
right.
There's no reference.
Right, exactly. There's no reference. So, you know, in another mind's sense, this movie was kind of awesome. Completely outside of our minds. It, you know, looking at as, again, someone who's never seen Godzilla before or anything like that, it's like, look at Pacific Rim. You know, like, as Pacific Rim, like, it's not a great movie. It's kind of an awesome movie. Yeah. Like, it's just like, this movie just rocks. Yeah. Like, this movie's great. So that's, you know, looking at it like that, that's kind of a similar thing. As a very American film, like, telling a story like that, sure, it has errors as a film, but
here's what I'll say.
Awesome.
Here's what I will concede to you.
Okay.
Had I seen this with little to no frame of reference for Godzilla, I still probably wouldn't have liked it. But I wouldn't. It would have been like, movie. It was cool. Some stuff blew up at the end.
Well, I don't totally believe you, but okay. I think that you would think it's awesome.
I mean,
because
it would have probably come and gone for me. I also didn't like Pacific Rim quite as much as everybody did. It was
awesome. Again, not a great movie, like not a really good movie.
Yeah, I'm just a fucking snob, and it was really cool and stuff.
That is exactly the right word. You are totally a snob when it comes to films like that. That's totally true.
But yeah, I think okay, let's say that had I seen this, because I only saw Pacific Rim for the first time a couple months ago. Had I seen this if this had come out and I had never seen another Godzilla movie, I'd be like, why'd they make another fucking Pacific Rim?
Yeah.
I was like, I guess it was fine, but it was just like, but then the combination of it kind of being pretty flimsy and my frame of reference, I cried a lot.
Frame of reference aside, I disagree on the flimsy.
Okay.
Characters, again, he was a sucky character.
And
it was a bad actor. Let's talk about what I don't like about this movie.
Okay. I will say I liked the wife better than I liked him, and she had that really fucking funny part when Godzilla's attacking the city and he's knocking planes out of the air, and the guy comes in the parachute and it like slows down and gets quiet for a second, and she's like, my man is like, my fucking G.I. Joe is like coming out of the air on a parachute to save me, and then it turns out that it's just a dude bailing out of his plane and the plane crashes. Like, there was shit like that. There
was a lot of awesome stuff in the
fantastic. It was
a really good action movie. It was a pretty cool action.
It was a good action movie. I'll give it that. And one of the most painful things about it for me was that there were so many really, really awesome like single moments.
Yes.
Like that. I think differently played, you don't get to see the monster fight and you just get to see it in the background of the TV. Done differently, that would have been hilarious. My problem with that is like they thought they were so clever doing that.
I don't see it as they thought it was clever. I thought it was them sort of trying not to spoil what it was going to be. And I understand that that's like different from what classically Godzilla is, like sort of as a monster movie. It should be like Pacific Rim. It should be monsters fighting all the time.
That's also just a bad action movie where you just don't. They don't show you the action.
I don't know. Well, it's kind of like in like an alien movie. You don't see the alien until the end because they don't want to spoil the alien for you.
Yeah, but like,
You know, like Close Encounters. Like the whole movie is sort of about how the aliens are like subtly affecting these people's lives, and then at the end, it's like, oh, they're good guys.
it's totally different for me though, because
I mean,
that's based on subtlety,
and
these little like teases. Like this felt much more deliberate. Like it felt like they were. Sorry, I tonight, because we're looking at this in black and white, I can't stop looking at my fingernails and these little white dots, and it's really kind of fascinating, especially when we do this. There was no subtlety in that withholding for me. Like it was
abrupt. You know what? Actually, that's one major thing about this movie that I had a problem with, or not a problem with, but I was disappointed by, is that a lot of it was really choppily edited, like as if they either somebody sucked at editing, or what I hope is that they cut a lot out.
It was too long too.
It was too long, and I think that they cut a lot of kind of not important stuff, but like good filler out. You know what I mean? Stuff that just sort of like didn't make it so. Like there was the one scene where everybody's running down the street when they're about to run into the bunker and then close the doors. There's that one scene where it's like that has his wife in it, where it's like all of a sudden you cut to her like being, oh god, I gotta run. It was like we cut from like the soldier boy like being like, I gotta save my wife, or like not even him. It was like it was probably like Ken Watanabe, like saying like, oh, like the ignorance of man, and then like all of a sudden it's her being like, oh, monster, and then like, you know what I mean? It's like there were lots of really weird cuts like that, like really odd like scene breaks and things like that.
It was weird because there was, I think, just the timeline of how it was. Like there was a lot of stuff in the internal timeline of the film. There was a lot of stuff that was happening at the same time. Like it was a difficult edit.
Imagine if this had actually been two films, and the first half of the film was all about like Bryan Cranston, and he was the main character, and it was all about him and his like search for the truth, and then him and Ken Watanabe butting heads, and like that whole thing, and then he ends up dying or whatever. And Ken Watanabe's like, oh no, and that's the end of that movie. And then the second movie is all about his son in this horrific disaster that follows Ken Watanabe's ignorance through all of this.
That might have been cool.
You know what I mean? Because that's how it kind of felt. It was like Bryan Cranston like was clearly an important character, but didn't really get enough. We didn't hear enough out of him. He was really just sort of like this like soothsayer, this false prophet sort of guy.
False.
But you know what I mean, like a apocalypse guy. What do you call those guys with the sandwich signs? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Those guys. He was one of those. You know, that's
a sandwich
board crazy. He was one of those guys. You know, that's kind of was his purpose in the film.
And you see, that's a character I can sympathize with.
Totally, and I wish that he had been around more. And I think that just in terms of the writing that they had done for him, sort of his script and like his involvement in the story in the first quarter of the film or third of the film, I think that he was the main character in the first act. I think there was a lot more to that we didn't get to see. Yeah. I think that there was a lot more to that and to Ken Watanabe.
And it's like you can say like, oh, okay, that movie again, and this is the transverse of the simultaneously I did not enough kaiju and I didn't like the movie that I'm upset for what it wasn't, and I'm also upset for what it was. The transverse of that was that not only I wanted to see Ken Watanabe and what's his name? Cranston?
Bryan Cranston.
And Bryan Cranston. I wanted to see that movie, and then not only did I not get to see that, I also had to watch this other movie that I didn't like.
Okay.
Like it was like a double whammy of like
disappointment.
It was
That's just, I'm pretty sure that's just called disappointment.
Yeah, it was a double disappointment.
I'm pretty sure it's just okay. Anyway, so yeah, that's something that I had a lot of problems with in the film. It just it seemed like really sort of like at the last second they were like, we should really cut this down from 3.5 hours to 2 hours.
No, and that's just the thing with movies now. It's just too long.
It is, and I really wish there's like. I say this about like every other movie that comes out now. Like I really hope they do like a really good director's cut of this, like a solid 3-hour director's cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like Lord of the Rings, like look at how much better Lord of the Rings was with the extended edition.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't just add in terms of, like, cool stuff. It added in terms of plot. Like, it cleared some stuff up.
Yeah. And, I think Lord of the Rings is the perfect example of that because, I mean, you see in that, I think they're definitely better movies as the bigger ones, but then there's also shit that I'm like, yeah, I would have cut that out too.
Yeah, yeah,
I probably would. I want to do my own cut. I want to get both versions and do my own cut of the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Sure.
Because there's parts that I would have. I think it's insane that they left the mouth of Sauron out of. That's the best part of the trilogy.
Sure.
And they cut it out.
That's a really awesome. Yeah.
And it's like significant too.
It's brief, but it's significant. Well, but I mean, it's not significant to the larger plot, unfortunately.
But it just makes the stakes so much higher in that last battle. Like it really, and that was kind of, all you really get is you get.
Yeah, he's like, why is he saying for Frodo? Like, because they're friends?
Yeah.
He hasn't seen that dude in like 9 months. Like, what's going on?
He gives his speech and it's cool and everything, but like that last battle seems kind of like quick. Yeah. It seems like a little like add-on. Whereas it really makes that whole last thing so much more emotional, which was the problem when it was cut. Was you were just so overwhelmed with like, oh, I can't do this movie, I can't do this trilogy anymore. Yeah. Well, that scene gives that last push that you need to get through.
Anyway, other problems I have with Godzilla.
Sorry.
The main character, the young soldier lad.
Yeah.
Was a pretty bad. He was not a very good actor. Right? Well, and also, he wasn't written very well. I think the character was, like, okay just because he's, like, archetypal. He's a soldier that has a family. Yeah. But he was written really poorly. I think he was just, like, a boring character.
I think that actor, because I remember seeing him in Kick-Ass, and he wasn't great, but, like, he totally did the shit out of that movie.
He's got one face. That's the problem. He's only got one face.
Yeah.
That's my main problem.
I think he's one of those actors that... And he's been in some other stuff. He's kind of getting popular right now. I think he's one of these guys that... If, like, he's just like an empty vessel, and you put him on stage and, like, he's just a puppet, and the director shoves his hand up his ass and talks to him. And it completely depends on who's directing him and the script.
Totally. Oh, yeah. There are some actors that are good actors, and then there's some actors that are good actors where they also have a good director, but suck all the other times. Anyway, that's a major problem I had. Also, the convenience of a lot of the story. You know, his sort of like, oh, can I get a ride on the train? I'm not allowed to do that. Yes, you are. Okay. Or like, hey, your guys are going to America? Oh yeah, we're going past San Francisco. Oh, cool. Can I get a ride? Yeah, sure. Like, okay.
Yeah, they portrayed the army as like this like gang.
Yeah.
Like they're all
like really loose, like loose gang.
He does the secret army handshake, and they're like, hop on board, pal.
That was pretty silly. And
they keep giving him, and not even like they're giving him rides, like they're giving him jobs.
Yeah, they're giving him jobs, like they like the most hand out guns to him, and
they're like, who's gonna disarm the bomb? It's like, when we found this guy in the mud.
Yeah.
Like, get him to do
I can do it. Okay, you can do it. And I was like, well, what? But I liked. I did like.
What are you doing to my cactus?
I'm not.
I'm trying to talk, guys.
Sorry.
I'm trying to talk about Godzilla. I didn't like. I really liked. I really liked the monsters as animals. The whole it being pregnant thing, like that crotch shot. I was like, people are like, I was like, that's awesome. Like that was one of the best parts of the movie for me.
That was really.
It was
cool.
like the giant egg sac
in
between your legs.
Giggled at it.
That's awesome.
People
that is so cool.
At the theater, and that was one of my.
That was so cool.
People complained about the design of the monsters, that they just looked like they definitely.
They're a little mechanic.
Yeah, they definitely did. People are saying it looks like Cloverfield, and it looks like Super 8, which is not untrue.
I haven't seen either of them.
Well, that's what monster movies look like.
Yeah.
They looked like the things from the
Pacific Rim.
From Pacific Rim.
So, I mean, yeah,
they were
like giant monsters.
Uninspired.
They looked like hyper dinosaurs is what they look like.
Yeah, they were uninspired, but they were fine, and I thought their eyes were cool. And
I didn't think Godzilla was too fat either. I thought Godzilla looked more like a lizard, is what I thought.
Yeah, I actually really liked the Godzilla design.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't go with the fucking porcupine quills.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought Godzilla looked great.
No,
I really
thought
liked
that
it.
was awesome.
And they keep changing it, and the thing is, like, I actually I like it better than the direction that Toho has been progressively going with it. Like, he looks cooler and cooler and cooler in the Toho movies, which just makes it less believable.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Not that like a giant like black lizard with spiny back and breathes radiation is believable, but like
It's not supposed to be
he
believable.
looked like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
You know, originally, and this was.
More like that.
Yeah.
I thought all the effects. I thought in terms of like technical filmmaking, I thought the effects were awesome.
Mhm.
I thought all the sound design was really, really,
Mhm.
really good. I thought.
That's it. Let me give a shout to the sound design. And there was one place where it was a perfect balance of new and old. It was the Godzilla roar.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It hinted at the original, but it was updated and it sounded great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Yeah, the effects were really good. The cinematography I thought was, for the most part, like really solid and super, supported the story and intriguing most of the time. Like the whole railroad bridge stuff. Like I thought that was just like really, really good cinematography, really great storyboarding. And
I don't super remember it, but that's kind
just
of
like where they're looking in between their legs and the stuff is falling, and there's like the guys down below too that are like in this different. I thought that all that was really good, and like that part where they're like laying on the thing and the monster's walking under it and stuff like that. Oh, I thought that was so good.
Yeah.
And yeah, just shot really nice. I thought the sort of like palette of it all was really satisfying. It was really like realistic, the light and the dark and all of that stuff. I thought was really, really good.
We'll say that. When it was outside, it very much had you had this sort of bleak-ish nighttime feel.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is good.
And like all the sets I thought were really cool too. Like the whole house, when they went back to the house at the beginning of the movie, they went back to the abandoned house.
Mhm.
Like, and I thought that was like really, really cool.
Mhm.
And then like them crawling through the abandoned nuclear city and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, the freaking the parachute scene. That's another thing. He's like, they're like, you're gonna have to plant this bomb. Like, you're part of a team now that's gonna go into the middle of the city. And it's like, oh, I guess every single soldier knows how to jump out of an airplane that's 10 miles up and like parachute into the middle of a city. I guess every single soldier in America is prepared for that. Because it's just like, oh, he can do that now. Like, he's there.
Dude, a kid I went to high school with was an airborne ranger. And he was like, yeah, the airborne rangers, that's literally all we do, and we still fuck it up all the time.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Like, that's what they do. That's not what the U.S. Army does.
Guys get knocked unconscious and die and shit.
Yeah.
Like, every single
Because they're
jump.
jumping from like 5 miles up.
Yeah.
Because they're extremely high up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I thought was just like
And they're going like,
so unbelievable.
and they do it through a monster fight.
Yeah, which was awesome, which was cool, but it was
Yeah.
like, that was a little too far past my suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. And just in terms of that one character, if he hadn't been that, I'd be like, these guys clearly trained for this, like, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just this dude that was like, I was in a war, maybe.
He wasn't even like a combatant.
No.
He was like defusing mines and stuff.
No, wait, he was but he was,
I mean,
he was in Afghanistan or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. That was dumb. It was a cool scene, but just him being there was stupid.
It was a really cool scene, but it was just like so. It was just silly.
All right, guys.
Silly.
It's 11:57. That's a 2-hour show. I'm gonna see if I can split this into 2 videos, actually.
Yeah.
So that we have the show and then the Godzilla show.
Yeah, I don't know if Alex is still commenting.
Someone's still watching.
He was. My computer died, so let me see if I can get a little. No, it's totally gone. But thank you for commenting, commenter. I can't. Whatever. We're a show.
Yeah, thanks for watching. We'll hopefully be back next week. We'll keep you updated on.
Yeah, I
what
really
our
want
timing will
to fit
be.
in these last 6 weeks, like do them. I'm gonna be in LA at some point, but I don't know if.
Yeah,
that will
well, you know
collide with the
what?
month.
We have more than 6 weeks though, so I'm not too worried about missing a week or two.
Okay.
And just to
But
really
we'll be letting you know the extravagances.